let's start with DRAM. Just how hard is it for you to meet the demand when it comes to supply?
Hello, Emily. Good to be on your show here today. With respect to DRAM, which represents more than 70% of Micron's business, of course, we announced during the time of the pandemic, we developed, and just a few weeks ago, we announced our 1 alpha DRAM technology node. This is the most advanced DRAM technology node by any supplier in the world. So Micron, during the pandemic, has been working hard on positioning itself to emerge stronger and prepared itself with the industry-leading 1 alpha node, which we are now ramping up into production and will be continuing to do so through the remainder of this year as well as next year. These are some CapEx investment decisions that we actually made at the peak of the pandemic in 2020, knowing that this is what is going to be needed in terms of meeting the growing demand. However, no question that end market demand from all segments of the end market, whether it is data center to the intelligent edge and smart user devices, all of these are requiring more of DRAM memory. So yes, DRAM is in tight supply at this point, and we expect the supply shortages to continue to be tighter through the rest of the year as well. And as we look ahead at 2022 as well, we see that the world economies will be rebounding, and the secular demand trends, again, from data center to smartphone to PCs to automobiles to intelligent devices, this trend will continue on, driving in this data economy more need for DRAM memory. So we see secular tailwinds in 2022 as well from the point of view of demand. And we are focused on continuing to bring our 1 alpha technology node to continue to increase our supply to help address the growing needs in the market for DRAM.
Now, President Biden has called chip industry leaders like yourself to Washington for a chip summit next week. Will you be attending that? And what would you like to see from the administration that could help?
So, Emily, you know that Micron is a company that has a very well-diversified global footprint. And of course, here in the US, we are the only manufacturer of semiconductor memory and storage. And we engage with the governments, with the administrations from around the world where we have presence in terms of our manufacturing or sales capabilities. So we engage with the governments. We are always in the dialogue. And I'm very pleased to see the focus in the US government on semiconductor industry, because semiconductor industry absolutely forms the backbone of global economies today. As we just discussed, as Ian King earlier mentioned as well, that from everything in your home to your cities, to your data centers, to the devices in your pockets, you need semiconductors today. So we are pleased with the focus that the administration is providing on driving research as well as manufacturing capabilities and strengthening innovation and competitiveness of the US semiconductor industry. This really bodes well for the long term. So we are definitely happy to see this focus coming to semiconductor industry.
Okay. Micron's plants are in Virginia, Singapore, Japan. You also have one in Utah that you're in the middle of selling. Why sell that plant now when we're in the midst of a chip shortage? And obviously, the US government wants more manufacturing on US soil.
So very important to note that, yes, Micron has a manufacturing plant for DRAM and NAND solutions in Manassas, Virginia. And we have the world's best R&D center in Boise, Idaho as well for our DRAM, NAND, and emerging memory solutions. And around the world, in countries like Singapore, Taiwan, and Japan, we have wafer manufacturing capabilities as well. So in memory and storage, in wafer manufacturing, scale is critically important. So scale and cost competitiveness is critical key factor here. Our Lehigh, Utah factory was dedicated not to NAND or DRAM manufacturing, but it was dedicated to solutions called 3D crosspoint technology, which for various reasons, engaging with the customer ecosystem, we have decided to cease the development of, because the return on our investments, given the limited market opportunity, really did not justify ongoing investments in that technology. However, that plant in Lehigh, Utah, really has a strong team, tremendous capability, and it will fit in well with other potential acquirers for either logic or analog or for foundry services. So we are engaged in dialogue with them for the sale of the plant.
Well, speaking of dialogue, you've got the China issue as well. The U.S. needs the China market. China needs U.S. chips, but there's been this stockpiling issue, trade tensions. Do you think the relationship can get back to where it was pre-Trump? Do you think Biden will soften his stance? Or do you think this just gives China impetus to make more of its own chips?
So for US semiconductor industry, again, as Ian had earlier noted, that China is an important market. And China market absolutely provides the benefit of scale that I was referring to, which is important to semiconductors and certainly important to memory and storage. So we are partner to several customers in China as well. So for US semiconductor industry, in order to have global competitiveness and not to be deprived of the opportunities around the globe by some other foreign competitors, it is important for us to be able to continue to participate in the China market, of course, while watching for national security interests or other government rules and regulations. So I do believe that it behooves US and China to really resolve the matters that are important so that innovation can flourish across national geographies, across national boundaries on a level playing field that absolutely addresses matters related to IP protection as well as fair, open market as well.
Now, last question quickly, Sanjay, about oversupply. Obviously, you're seeing this in the NAND business. I wonder if you're going to see the pendulum swing the other way. Once the shortage is over, will there be an oversupply quickly?
So Emily, last week in our earnings call, we noted that we have seen early signs of stabilizing of pricing in the NAND industry. We do watch and monitor that optimistically. But we do think that in order to really restore the health of the NAND industry, some prudent CapEx investment CapEx management is necessary so that the supply bit growth doesn't outrun the demand growth in the NAND industry. And this is where Micron certainly is being extremely disciplined in terms of how we manage our CapEx investments in DRAM as well as NAND, absolutely focusing on driving our supply bit growth, keeping in mind long-term demand expectations as well. And that is critically important for maintaining the health of both DRAM and NAND industries.